Okay, so improving the cover designs, I'm going to show you how to select your images. So you can head over to Speedy Publishing 123RF, and from within there you can log in. Within the search box you type in your subject matter, whether it's gardening, whatever particular subject that you're looking for. And since we're doing images for our covers, we would select photos as shown right here, and then you click on your search box. Now let me show an example by going into my homepage. So I'm going to log in. And all right, for this one, I'm going to show you what I'm talking about. I'm going to choose gardening. And within the gardening, you have different, just choose photos, search. Now, there's quite a few selections that you're going to be seeing when you do the search. So what I was talking about, narrowing your searches down, is you go over to the orientation side, choose horizontal, and refine your search. Now, when you found a particular image that you like, say for instance, I'm going to choose this one. For a 6x9 cover that you choose, it's best to go with something a little bit larger than the actual 6x9. So for this, the width is 14.02 by 9.33. That's an excellent size to choose. So you click download and then download it, and you click it wherever you want to place it. All right, so let's get back to my slide and continue. All right, so sorry. After we've done our search and everything, and we've selected our image, sometimes our images, the images you want them prominently on the right hand side, since the front cover will be on the right hand side and the left hand side is basically a back cover. But sometimes the images, the prominent image of itself tends to be, some of them are on the left hand side. So if you will need to flip your image, let me show an example. All right, so I have an image here, and what you do is go into image rotation, flip canvas, and your image would be flipped over on anywhere you want it, either on the left or the right. So this is an example of what we do. Now, what I'm going to show you next is I'm going to show you how to create your covers using two methods. I'm going to be showing how to fade an image, to let your text and your type to be prominent, because typography is what brings life to your books. And
Suzette?
if you don't have a statement for it,
Suzette?
yeah,
Yeah, sorry to jump in.
yes, Colin.
I just wanted to point out to everyone pretty much what Suzette did a while ago. Could you go back to Speedy 123RF just real quick, Suzette, just for one quick second?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and could we head back? Just hit your back button so we can actually look on a couple of those images.
All right, sure. Cool.
And hit back one more time.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So pretty much, guys, what Suzette was pointing out is that now that we've done a refined search in terms of finding stuff that's going to be horizontal that we know is going to be used for our existing cover. What Suzette is basically saying is that if you find the primary image for that particular, I would probably say the predominant focus on the image itself is on the left-hand side and not on the right, there is a way to fix that. So if you see, could you scroll up, Suzette? There is one where you have a young lady and a guy who is there to the left, just a little bit up, a little bit more.
This one?
Top
This
left-hand
one,
corner.
right, Colin?
Top left-hand corner. Oh yeah, anyone that has any setting that the persons are to the left.
This is it.
Yeah, go ahead and select it.
Hold on a second. Right.
Is your screen moving? Because I'm not seeing your screen move.
1 second, Colin.
Okay.
The image seems to be having a trouble uploading.
Okay.
1 second.
So basically, guys, what Suzette is actually saying is that if the primary focus of the image is on the left, it can still be used because when you go...
I think I have to open up another URL.
Okay,
so let me try again and...
Might have actually gotten stuck there.
Hello?
Yeah, are you hearing me? Suzette?
All right, let me get back to what I was for. Yes, are you hearing me?
Yeah, I can hear
Is
you
everyone
now.
hearing me?
I can hear you now. Well, okay, so pretty much we just wanted to make sure everyone understood. When you're choosing your primary image, right, the key thing is that you can take the image being to the left and you can still flip it around. So if we take, for example, and let me just go ahead and grab back the screen real quick, Suzette, while you kind of go through that. And I'll go over to or Speedy123RF to kind of give you an idea of what Suzette means. And this is very, very important because it helps specifically with the choice of images where we can now choose more images than what we had previously discussed. So if I go over here and I'm going to head to Speedy123RF and I'll go ahead and look for gardening, pretty much as what Suzette did. And I'm going to look for photos and I'm going to click on search. And one of the images that we saw was, I think, someone who was predominantly to the left here. So this is the image that we were talking about.
Right.
Right, and it's moving pretty slow. Yeah, but in this instance, the predominant focus of the image is on the left. In this case, even if we download this image, we can use Photoshop to flip the persons from the left to the right so that that focus will now be on the right hand side, and hence we can use that in a particular image. So it gives us a lot more in terms of what we can do, right? And that's pretty much the way how that would actually work. So there's no issue in terms of you being able to choose another image, right, other than, you know, if we were predominantly looking for someone to the right. So what Suzette just showed you in terms of heading over to Photoshop and then flipping that image, that would, of course, give you the image focus to the right. So that's pretty much what she was showing, and I wanted to make sure everyone kind of understood that because it gives you the option now, instead of having to look just for a specific image that is predominantly has the predominant focus on the right, then you can look for an image that, even if it has a predominant focus on the left, as long as it fits with the parameters in terms of the size. So the size is what you're really looking for, whether it's going to be 12.5 by 8.5. This obviously is too small. It always has to be 300 dpi, has to have the required length that is going to go depending on the size of your book. So if your book is 8.5 by 11, if you're doing something like a garden planner, which is a zero content book, you know it's going to be 8.5 multiplied by 2, which is going to be 17, and then it has to be 11 inches in height. And this would probably be pretty perfect for an 8.5 by 11 book cover. And then you would just flip this around once you open the image or once you download the image. So I'm thinking that would definitely be able to help everyone kind of understand a little bit better in terms of what we can do with the image choices that we have. So Suzette, I'm going to make you back the presenter, and sorry to jump in there.
No problem.
I'll stay out of your hair. Okay. So all right. So you should have the screen back, and we should be able to get started again. Okay. Awesome.
Okay.
So you can head back to your slides and continue.
All right. All right. Now that Colin explained it a little bit better than how I was doing, I'm going to show you how to do some effects on your covers using Book Cover Pro as a designing factor. Now, Book Cover Pro basically creates the end product of your book. But sometimes you need a bit of added effects to your images before. So it's best to do it in Photoshop, since Book Cover Pro doesn't really have that facility. So, all right, for this image, we're going to do a fade. Now, to show you how, and I'm hoping that everyone can see my Photoshop properly every end. Okay. To show you how we go about this, what we do is I would select my image, which I've opened up in Photoshop, and within on your right hand side, actually, sorry, you're going to choose to duplicate your background. Well, their shorthand is Control J or Apple J for those who have a Mac. And you're going to close off by clicking the eye over the background image. Just click the eye, and that closes off the background image. Now, with the layer 1 selected, which is a copy of the image that you had just created, we're going to add a layer mask. Now, this is a layer mask below here. I'm hoping everyone can see. You click that, making sure that it is selected, because sometimes you can click the image and you won't get the effect that you want. So always ensure that your layer mask is selected. As you can see, it's highlighted with these 4 corner lines around it. All right, and with that done, ensure that your foreground, the black is in the foreground and the white is in the background. Go to your gradient tool, which is right here, click it, making sure that you have the linear gradient in play, and from the bottom of half of your image, you're going to click it from below and drag it all the way up to the top. Now, as you can see, there's this transparency that's happening. Don't worry about that. When we flatten our image, you're going to see the white, and it's going to be faded. All right, and after we've done that, you're going to click Layer, Flatten Image. Then you say OK to discard the background, and that's it. Simple. So as you're about to finish, you'd save it. And I'm going to save it right in here. I call it a fade. And click OK. Now, for what we're going to do next is go over to Book Cover Pro. And we're going to be creating a book cover for 6x9 trim size. So what we're going to do is click New, ensure that the height is 9, the width being a 6x9 times 2, for the width it would be 12. I'd say for a 50-page book, ensure that your trim is a 1/8 of an inch. So 1/8 of an inch bleed area is 0.125, and I tend to go for the CMYK PDF XA immediately. So you can choose that and create and say OK. Alright, now we're going to import our image into the background of our canvas. So let's do that. And it is rasterizing. Okay, now ensure that it is filling in your canvas as much as possible. Okay, great. Now we're having a nice effect going on here. And now we want to do something about the back cover, because if you're going to have a lot of text, especially back info that you need to show, it's not really going to show much on this area. So what I tend to do is to make the back covers either have a color block, which I'll show you what we're going to do now is choose a bar, and we're going to carry it over to the very edge of the canvas, and then we're going to stretch it, ensuring that it also takes up the spine. Now we're going to choose a different color. I chose green for this. Then we say accept. And we have a nice green back cover for this. Now I'm going to add the text, the title, the subtitle, and the author name. For me, especially for gardening, I tend to go for something that's more a sans serif type of font. So what I'll do is we go into our text box, take text, carry it over to your front cover, and having the text box, we stretch it over to the yellow outline of this. Now this yellow outline that you see around your canvas, this is where your text is supposed to be, and should not pass the yellow line, because what will happen is that sometimes during print and when they're trimming the edges of your page, if your text is too near the edge, it might get cut off, and that would be just a complete disaster to your cover. Alright, so for this I have a few texts that I decided on using, so let's get to it. I'm going to call this Gardener. I'm going to choose Trajan Pro. Make it center. Make it about 36. And we're going to apply. And this is the effect that you'll get. Now this is a little bit too large in my eye, so you can scale it down a bit by, say, putting it at 34, and reapply. Now you can narrow down your text box by carrying it up just a little. I tend to do quite a few, because with each text box you can use a different font. And for this I'm going to put how to have a green thumb. I'm going to put this into a different type, more cursive, 26, center, and apply. Let it be just a little bit up to the title. And we're going to add another text box. Stretch it over to the yellow line. And then we're going to fill it with the rest of our information. And I'm going to use the Trajan once more at 34. Alignment is center, and we apply. Then we're going to add our author information, add another text box, carry it over, stretch our text box over to the yellow line, and we're going to fill in with our information, our author name. I'm going to put it as the same font, Trajan. No, okay, center. I put this at 24 and apply. So as you can see, this is happening. This is coming on really well. All right, now we have the back information to fill. Now I have some Ipsum lorem that I had just to fill in that space. And we're gonna put in our back information. I added another text box, carrying it over. Making this one Myriad Pro. At 10, and we're going to justify this one, and we apply. Now for the barcode, which is the ISBN, you put in a 13-digit barcode right here. Unfortunately, I don't have, and you fill this in. And you'd carry it over on this side, and that's where your barcode would be. So this is an example of a fade effect that we could do for our book cover. Now I'm going to show you how to do, and basically before we end this session, this particular cover, you'd have to save as, actually generate as PDF. You name it, let's call it The Gardener's Bible. And having it as a PDF, it will automatically save your book cover within the constraints of what Alyssa and CreateSpace require for their PDF submissions, which is the PDF XA1, I believe. And then you click Save. All right. So for the next example that I'm going to show you, I'm going to create a new cover, a new canvas actually. The same dimensions as the first. And using the same image, but this time without a fade, we're going to use this to click our image, and we're going to use all right. Ensure that your image is filling in your canvas. Click bar. And we're going to choose the same color for background, for back cover actually. Now with this one, we're going to add a text box, a colored text box or banner. And so using the same bar, we're going to carry it over onto this side. Making sure that it's big enough to fill in as much as possible. And for this box, we're going to make it white. All right, now we're going to start putting in our text. Same information as before. Gardener's Bible. And we're going to choose Trajan. At 34, 32, 34. Center, apply. Still a little bit too much, so let's put it at 30. Great. And then we're going to add our subtitles. So we add another text image, or text box. Ensure that you're clicking on the text that is highlighted. So, and carry over the edge. Wow. Sometimes there's an interference with the text box, so ensure that the bottom half of your text box goes up to the edge of your title as much as possible, and then we can carry back what are the information that we're applying below. All right, and then we're going to add our other information. Centered and apply. Turn it up a bit. Our next text box. And we're going to add the information. Ooh. At 30. Center and apply. Now we're going to add our author. So another text box. At 24. Center and apply. So as you can see, very simple, very quick. Sorry about that. And you know, it's no-brainer. You can this can be done within less than 20 to 15 minutes. All right, just for time's sake, let's add our back info as before, since we did it with this first one. So let's add another text box for the text image for the back info. And we justify this and we apply. Let's choose black for this because it's really getting lost in the, yeah, so great. I'll get rid of this one. And then we can add our ISBN and you can put it right there. So as you can see, quick, simple, you know, a no-brainer. All right, so this is just an example of how to do the covers. For Next, I'll be showing you how to create your coloring books. Now, to go back to our Speedy Publishing 123RF URL.
Suzette?
Now, for the coloring books, I have to wait.
Suzette?
Yes.
Suzette?
Yes, Colin.
Hey, okay, so
Yes, good morning.
so clearly I'm an absolute idiot in terms of creating covers because I would never have thought about that really. So there are two different ways I'm seeing that we can improve in terms of the color, in terms of our cover design. So typically, as we discussed, and just for everyone, this is a discussion that Susan and I have had many times. There are two things that really determine the quality of a cover. The image that is used and the font that is used. So those fonts that you're using there, Suzette, we're going to give everybody kind of a list on what are probably going to be the best fonts to utilize in terms of doing this. And that's pretty much what you're going to get. But the key thing here is that you can introduce using a fade. So you use the fade option to get in your text, and when you get in your text and you use that fade, you can also add the bar or the text bar. But what I wanted to find out, Suzette, because I think probably what a lot of the guys are actually not seeing is that you can actually add a fade to anywhere, right? So you can add a fade to the right of the image, right? Or you can add a fade to the left, or you can actually put the fade up at the top. So if the predominant image is in any direction, right? Even to the corner. Can you open up? Can you go back to your image so I can kind of see that? Because I think that would be a really cool feature if you could go back to Photoshop and we could have a quick look. Yeah, if we could open up the original. Yeah.
Right.
Okay, great. So here's what I'm going to. Yeah, I can see. Can you maximize? Is there a way to maximize your screen? Make it a little bit bigger, like stretch it to the right. Yeah. Make it a little bit bigger. Yeah, go ahead. Awesome. Okay. So for instance, what I want you to do is to fade. Let's fade to the left or to the right of the image so that we can actually show that we can fade in any corner or direction. So pretty much if we wanted to add something like a bestseller kind of thing, we could actually fade out a particular corner. So go ahead and do that fade thing again.
All right, so most bestsellers, they tend to have it at, say, the right upper corner. So let's do a fade in where this brick is concerned. So, all right, like I said before, let's duplicate this image by Control J or Apple J for most people. Let's hide the background image, ensuring that we have clicked on our layer 1, which is the duplicate of the image. We're going to add a layer mask.
Awesome.
And from there, ensuring that we have our gradient tool clicked and it's on linear gradients. We're going to go from the tip of our corner in a diagonal section and just fade.
Awesome.
Now once we've flattened this image, we should see.
Excellent.
Or whiten. That's the fade.
Excellent.
Right
so
there.
Basically, anything that we want to put.
No, I was saying, you know, you can make it even more, just depending on where you click and select. Right. The fade can go even deeper than
into the image.
Fade.
Right. Excellent. And I think that will basically come with, in terms of time, when everyone is doing it, and they'll test it to make sure. So obviously, everybody will get to the point where it will take them 15 minutes to do it. But of course, you've got to test and kind of use the feature. But it seems to me that clearly with the fade feature, it's absolutely awesome because you really and truly allow something to come in that can stand out on that particular image if you're choosing anything whatsoever. And from just using Book Cover Pro, the basic idea here is that when you get that image in, You can block out the back cover, have the main cover, and then, of course, as you said before, go over the spine. And then we add what is known as that bar, and then we can go ahead and add any type of writing there. So again, we have a good image, right? And we would then have a really, really good font to go along with that. And the fonts that you're using, Trajan, and the ones that you had cursive, we'll put together, and on the replay video, on that particular page for the replay, we're going to have a list of those fonts that you'll be able to choose, which are considered cursive, because the cursive ones are the squiggly ones, right?
That's correct, Colin.
Right. So we'd give them a lot of cursive fonts that we can utilize, and the other ones which are big block fonts that are pretty much, really good to use. So you can go to those immediately.
Yeah.
So that gives you the option of making sure that your covers can stand out visibly in terms of what you have as an image, and then, of course, more importantly, in terms of the font. So awesome.
Yes.
So yeah.
I was just going to interject, Colin. One of the best sites to get free fonts, especially, is a website called DaFont.
Is that DA font?
DaFont. DaFont.com.
Okay, got it.
It's absolutely great.
It's great. I'm putting that link right now in the chat box for everybody. So let me just go ahead and put that there. So I'm going to say this is where to get some cool fonts, right?
That's correct.
Awesome. So if anyone wants to get some cool fonts, they can go to dafont.com, and I put the link in there. Okay. So I'm going to go back to muting myself so you can't continue.
Okay.
Awesome.
All right. Now that we're finished with this, let's go over to creating or coloring books, which is really exciting and great. So going back to our URL for Speedy Publishing, let's click coloring books. Now, like I was saying before, to create coloring books, it's best to use vectors. This ensures you how to scale those images that you're going to get. They're really great. Vectors are the greatest thing ever invented. They're not affected by raster images, which there's once you purchase them at a particular dimension, that's it. You can't get it cannot be expanded any further than what it is. With vectors, you can scale them up and down anywhere you want. So as you can see, I had put my subject matter, coloring books, and chosen illustrations into the search, and this is what happens. To explain to you more than anything else, vectors will have this icon right here with these points and path. This is what you look out for an illustration vector, and you have to make sure that this is there when you're choosing your images. So suppose we choose or scarecrow. I don't know what this is, a pumpkin head, and ensure that you choose the EPS, which is unlimited. This is a vector file, and you download that. Now, once you have chosen your image and downloaded them, what you'll do now next is it will come like this. Now, to even show you even better.
Okay, Suzette, here's one of the things that yeah guys. So here's one of the things that I think that we want to talk about. While you go ahead and close those, Suzette, the key thing here is that when you're looking for your images to create in your coloring books, you're going to be looking for images that basically are multiple images. So Suzette, if you can head back before you start using Illustrator, and kind of showing everyone, just to let everyone kind of understand, Adobe Illustrator exists in your Creative Cloud offering. So you can go over to Adobe Creative Cloud and you can go into the Download Center and you can download Adobe Illustrator. And I'm going to show you that at the end of the webinar just so that you're going to be able to do that. And more importantly, we'll make sure that we talk about that on the replay page. But the key to creating a coloring book, and Susan basically kind of taught me this, was that you have to look for multiple images. Because in looking for a vector, you choose those multiple images like this. So if we're doing, this is a good snapshot, Suzette, of a coloring book for kids, eh?
That's correct, Colin.
Yeah, so we've got a hippopotamus, we've got a giraffe, an elephant, and that looks like a macaw, I think. And you can go ahead and take this, and this actual image here is going to give us 5 actual images because, as Suzette mentioned, we can resize those images to any dimension that we want. So if we have a book that's 5.5 by 8.5, we can resize it. If we have a book that is 6 by 9, we can resize it. If we have a book cover, a book design that is 8.5 by 11, then we can resize it, right? So pretty much if you click on this here, Suzette, click on that one. That looks really nice, by the way. So if we decided to go ahead and purchase this particular here, it would be 10 credits, right? So it's 10 basic credits, but we're getting 5 images for those 10 credits. And of course, unlike with the normal 123RF where it's going to be a particular price, we get really good discounted rate on the 123RF credits. So it's basically going to be about $7 we're paying for 5 actual pages of content. So, and again, what we want to remember is that as we create these particular coloring images and watch what Suzette is going to do in terms of breaking them apart, and it's very simple and straightforward, each one of these images will represent something that goes into your content management page. So once you create that image, you're going to store it for future use, and you're going to save it as, of course, giraffe coloring book. You can code it if you want to go ahead and call it giraffe-CB or hippopotamus-CB or funny elephant or macaw parrot CB, as in CB would, of course, be coloring book. So the key here is that the more that you buy over a period of time is the larger your library will become. And you can basically recycle those images because you can probably go ahead and look for, sea animals. So hit the back button because this can be the African safari coloring book, right? And you're going to, and you're going to start here. Here we've got others. Is that another set?
Yeah.
Set of them? Right.
What happens is once we click a particular image that we like, there are similar stock photos that, based off selection, they give you, so you cannot see other stuff that is shown below.
Nice.
Nice. Right. So let's look for some other images at Collective. I think you were saying, Colin.
Okay. Sorry. So I'm gone, guys.
All right.
I'm out of here again. Okay.
All right, great. All right, so back to Illustrator. Now, do not, some people are intimidated by this program, but it is one of the simplest programs to use. Now that we have had our collection, that this is an image that I had chosen, wanting to do a coloring book on fruits. Now, I have chosen my direct selection tool. What tends to happen is that some of these, what happens is that these images are grouped together. So if I take my direct selection tool, which is above, and I click on one of them, everything shows up highlighted and in blue. Now we don't really want this. So before I go, I'm going to create my coloring book images for per page. What I'll do is I'm going to create a new document, and I'm going to make this document say 4.5 by 6, and this will fit into a 6 by 9 coloring book. Okay. Now back to my direct selection tool. I'm going to click on the background. Now, as you can see, there's this outline that's around it. What I tend to do is I will delete that, and then using my direct selection tool, as you can see, I clicked, held it down, and carried over to the image that I want selected. Now I will copy this, carry it over to the new document that I just created, paste it, and as you can see, I had part of the hand of another fruit that was there that I didn't really want to be a part of the image of the grape. So what I'll do is using direct and clicking and holding and dragging over, select that the pieces that I didn't really want and just delete. Now I'm going to show you how to scale this image, which is so great. I choose my selection tool, which is above the direct selection tool, clicking in one area and dragging it over onto the entire subject matter that I'm going to scale. I will then select it until it's highlighted in blue. Holding down my Shift and Alt key, I'm going to hold the corner and just drag, so that just to make sure that I have the edges touching the canvas as much as possible. And now that I've had this scaled within the dimensions of my canvas, I'm going to export this as a JPEG. Now you're going to go to File, Export, and I'm going to place this into a particular folder that I'm going to create called Coloring Books. And I'm going to call this fruit with an extension of 1. Make sure that it's a JPEG, and we export. Now you're going to see this information coming up. Now what I'll do is I'm going to choose RGB. And don't worry about the fact that I've chosen the RGB, because what I'm going to be doing is importing this image into a Microsoft Word doc, and after we convert it to a PDF, all the images within that document will become CMYK. Making sure that our quality is 10, which is at its maximum. For the compression methods, baseline standard, the resolution high at 300 ppi, which is per points per inch, and the anti-aliasing is type optimized. Okay, and then we press OK. Next, we are going to create a new layer. So you create a new layer, hide the first image that we placed, and we go back to our document and we choose another image, and it's just repeat and repeat. And so it's that simple, it's that great. And we just do the same thing like we did before. I'm just going to show you a few that I'm going to do right off. I'm going to do 4 of the images. Oh, sorry, I just remembered I had not exported this one. Alright, so we export this, call it fruit. This is 2, export, making sure that it's RGB. So all the settings that we had before are in line. And we press OK. Next, we created another layer. Go back to our original subjects. Copy. Hide. And we're gonna paste. Oh, sorry. So what we're gonna do, I think something happened right there. And we're gonna hide, paste. Now, like I said, get rid of all those extras that we didn't really want. Use our direct selection tool, holding our end. Make another selection, hide this one. Let's do this now in here. So he's big enough. Well, let's make him stretch a bit more. Export. Okay. Now we can save this by calling it, let's say, our fruit collection. And this keeps all those vectors that you had before in check, just in case if you lose the JPEGs of them, you have them there. All right, now going into a Word doc, you can start putting in your images, and it's quite simple. As you know how to insert an image within a Word doc, it's very simple and quick and easy. So go into our coloring book folder, choose the first, the second image, our third image, and our fourth image. So like I said, quite quick, simple, and easy to do. And you know, it's no brainer for anyone to complete. It's just straight across the board and just simple to do. All right, so now that we've completed this section on how to do coloring books, let's go over back to our PowerPoint and let's do our crossword puzzles, which is really and truly exciting.
Okay, Suzette, before you go on, I wanted to make sure that everyone was following what was going on here. So if you could type in the chat box to basically see that this is very, very, very straightforward, and this is pretty easy. If you're following and you're basically seeing exactly what's going on here, because what actually happens is that not only does this save you in terms of time, it saves you a lot of credits, specifically in terms of putting together one book. So if you're using 50 different images or even 100 different images, the average cost of one of those particular images, depending on how many images you can find on that particular collection, as Suzette pointed out, they would be numerous, right? So because there's so many images to choose from, right? Then you can really and truly utilize this to make the right step going forward. Because if you can create 10 or 20 or 100 or 500 images over a period of time, and you can whittle it down to, let's say your initial investment might be $500, you can be getting, I mean, literally up to 500 images. which are all coloring book related. And you can have that in your collection, and you can have that in your entire library. And then you can go ahead and say, go ahead and create, a cover, a team leader 2 can either say it to a new staff member or a new team member, or the team leader 2 going through this process would be able to grab one of those collections and be able to take it and create their own specific images. That's really what's happening here, because this is very, very, very important. Now, Suzette, could you go back to that MS Word doc just really quickly so we could point out something?
Sure.
Okay, so the Microsoft Word format that you're seeing here is typically for our existing books, right? But it's the print version. The templates that you'll get on the replay page, you're going to get 3 different templates that are specifically designed for coloring books. And you're going to be able to head into your 123RF, be able to choose a collective, and be able to create a 50-page coloring book, giving it a particular name. That's going to be based on whatever it is that you have found. Now, you're going to have to, of course, download Adobe Illustrator, and that is in your Creative Cloud, and we're going to show you exactly how to do that and where to find that, right? So once you download Illustrator, you're going to be able to use this video, this training video again, follow what Suzette has basically shown you, and be able to create your images and drop them exactly in that Microsoft Word document. When you are exporting it, once you go ahead and make sure that your images are up to PDF XA-1, it will automatically change your images to CMYK. There's also a neat way that you can do that in terms of what is called changing your information to make sure it's CMYK, and you can do that quite easily. But the main thing that you have to worry about in terms of images is that they have to be 300 DPI, in this instance PPI, and that's what they are, as Suzette has actually shown you. So she's basically put together 4 pages of a coloring book in literally no time at all once you get the hang of it and you get faster at it. So it would probably take you about, I would say, about an hour to put together an entire book, and then of course to be able to export it and make it ready to be delivered. And then of course you'll take another 15-20 minutes to kind of create your cover to match this particular coloring book, and then you'll have a complete package ready to be published on whether it's going to be CreateSpace or any other print-on-demand service. That makes it extremely easy. So in record time, you can basically finish as many coloring books as you want to. Very, very straightforward and very, very easy. So I wanted to make that clear to everybody. So yes, it is, Val. Very, very doable. Even I can do it, and I am terrible at graphics. So, okay. So, Suzette, let's head into your crosswords.
Okay, great, Colin. All right. Now, one of our sites that we tend to use for our crossword puzzles is bestcrosswordpuzzles.com. So, as you can see, let me just head over to there. Now, what we do is you go over to puzzles. I do believe, no. Head over to puzzles, casual printable. I do believe, yes. And so, like, yes, this was the site that we tend to get our puzzles from. Now,
Suzette, I think you're missing out. Suzette? Suzette? Suzette?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, Colin. Can you hear
Okay,
me?
so here's what I think we're missing out here. Can you just go ahead and to the right where it says need a crossword puzzle for publication or your website, visit the syndication section. That's in the column to the far right. To the column
to the far
right.
I am not. Oh,
there you
I
go.
got you.
And you hit on syndication section,
yes.
and then you click on print syndication. Right. So guys, just to let you know that each one of these stock images. So you can click on shop here, Suzette, to kind of show everybody. So we're starting you with 50 of these particular printable puzzles to start with. The reason why we're doing this, because these all come in vectors as well, and Susan is going to show you the package, but we have oodles
Right.
of them. So we're divvying up, and we've basically used them before, but the key thing here is that for a crossword puzzle, it's not very difficult to create a crossword puzzle. You can use software to do it. There are a whole lot of other options that you can do. But using this for $10 means that the more you buy is the more you have in the library. And we're starting you out with 50 of these. So it's an automatic $500 value, what you can start your library out with. Now, when you're naming your crossword, you can do anything that you want to do with your crossword name, right? Um, it's typical that you can change the size of the crossword, so you can say jumbo crossword puzzles. You can put that on a big, 8.5 by 11. You can put it on a 7 by 10, whatever it is that you want to do. Mainly, you'll see some crossword puzzles end up coming out with a limited number of in a limited size. So you'd have pocket crossword puzzle books, which are 5.5 by 8.5. You have a whole range of options that you can choose from with crossword puzzles, which is why I really like it, and more importantly, why we take this option, because there are two other websites that we use. I think Suzette with Sudoku. So we do a lot. We do some
Yes, we
Sudoku as
do.
yeah, we do some
Yes.
Sudoku as well. So it's really
Mm-hmm.
based on getting the crossword puzzle itself, which has three elements. And Suzette is going to elaborate on that in terms of the three elements. So I want to make everyone aware, so you don't have to actually go in now and purchase any of those crossword puzzles, because on the page with the replay, you're going to be able to download all 50 of them. And what we'll do is that we'll basically try and give you like different links so you can download them one by one by one. We know trying to download all 50 at the same time or simultaneously would take forever. So you can download one at a time and you can make that choice. Now there are crosswords that are based on different terms as well. So you can have just a regular old crossword puzzle, or you can have a kid's crossword puzzle, or you can have any other type of adult crossword puzzle or medical crossword puzzle or anything like that that's theme related. You can have that option, and there are other places that you can go ahead and choose from. Our ones here are just casual puzzles, so we're not looking on any themed puzzles that we have here just yet, but there are other places for you to be able to access those, and we'll talk about those places and give you links to go to them. But we're starting you out with 50 casual crossword puzzles that you can get on the download page, and that will ensure that you should be able to, at the very least, create, a couple of books to get started and to kick it off. So that's one of the main things that we wanted to do. So let me switch my mic off, Suzette, and you can walk us through the process again.
Right. Now, as you can see here, this is what, when you purchase the package from Best Crossword Puzzles, this is what the package includes. It is quite extensive, as you can see. They give you a bunch of options, EPS, the PDF, PNGs, as well as the text and everything. Now, for each puzzle, it comes with the grid, which you can see here. Let me make this big, show more. Hold on a second. I'm trying to make it. Okay, great. Now, as you can see, it comes with the grids, the solutions, and they even give you the complete puzzle itself in the format. So it's up to you and the options, and then you have the text to fill in however you want. Now, like with the coloring book images, I would take my EPS and open it in Illustrator. Now, say I want this puzzle to become a jumbo puzzle for an 8.5 by 11 book. So what I would do is, like I did before, choose our format for letter size, which is 8.5 by 11. Press OK. Using our dark, or not with our direct selection tool, but our selection tool, just scroll over the entire area, capture it, can carry it over here, make it as large as you would like. Now we have to take into account, don't carry too much to the end of the canvas, because with the 8.5 by 11 interiors, we have to be mindful of the fact that we have a gutter to be aware of, as well as a 1/2 of an inch away from the edge constraints. So I'm just going to take it a bit and make it that. And we're going to export like before, a JPEG. Let's call this grid 2. We did a grid 1, so let's call this grid 2. Export, ensuring that it's RGB, and we send that to export. Now we have to also take in our solution as well, which is, I'll choose EPS. Copy, paste, and we're going to export this. Say, let's call it grid solution 2, and we export. And let's head over to our MS Word doc. Using, let's get rid of the images that we did for the coloring section. This is just an example that we're using. So what I'll do is we're going to put in the grid for the first selection. So let's add insert. Let's put in grid 1, insert. And what we'll do is look for the text that was, which I have right here. And we select the hints. And using a text box, which I would advise when using the Word doc to create, because I would think that instead of having the hints heading going over onto the second pages and everything, use a text box, and you just fill in the information. No. No, to do the next text box for the continuation of the hints, you click on this icon at the edge of the box and just click it and scroll down, and it continues. And you can just continue getting rid of some of the spaces, because what happens with some of the simple text that the hints come into, then they create a lot of space, which is very unnecessary. But this is a great way how to create your puzzles. And yeah, so as you can see, it's just very simple, very quick and easy. I do like a continuation to you fill, and at the end you put your grid solutions, which would look something like this. Oh, came colored. 1 second. I do believe this was the original. Ensuring that it's RGB, and then we will open back into our Word doc. Yes. So, like I said, the crossword puzzles are easy to do as well, just like the vectors for the coloring books. It's quite simple, quite easy, and like I said, the solutions would be at the end of the book. You just fill in all the pages. Sometimes you can have like more than one solution. You could have 2 solutions on the end, and what you would do is a simple how to identify it is by adding a text box above it and simply call it
Suzette?
yes.
Yeah, if you can hear me, okay. Just so everyone knows, one of the key things that makes this go faster is the use of a template. And in the crossword puzzle template that we're providing you with, there will be a clear section that says go answers and or here are the answers, which are at the back of the book. And then at the front section, you're going to have your empty pages, which you're going to be able to populate with information. So if one is the grid, you're going to be able to call this, you know, simple and easy, quick and easy, whatever you want to call that specific crossword puzzle or the puzzle itself. You're going to be able to name the puzzle itself. Then you're also at the end of the day going to be able to put the hints right beside it, and then you can go ahead and list them down and down and down. In terms of putting in where it says puzzle solution, that information that you're putting there, Suzette, will actually be there in a totally different section at the end of the book, so that so all you've got to do is just to enter in or plug in the puzzle solution and then say puzzle solution for number A, and it will be demarcated based on a chapter, so that a person who is looking on the puzzle, they will basically know, hey, listen, the solution is at page A, right? So this is the real hard part of basically adding in your content, and that's the real crux of the matter. Now, in going through this hard part of getting the EPS and resizing it, placing it inside your existing template, that is going to be, as I said to you before, the difficult part. Where to place it in the template is going to be clearly indicated, and you'll be able to just copy, paste, and drop that in, right? So again, in terms of naming your crossword, you're going to be starting off with 50 casual crossword puzzles. We're going to look on other places. So there are companies like Best Crossword Puzzles and companies, I think there's another puzzle one, I think about 4 or 5 of them. We have so many now that our library is pretty massive, so we don't really have to go back to those guys for quite some time, because we create crossword puzzles ad hoc, because they're 0 content normally, journals, diaries, you name it. There's so many options, so we create crossword puzzles and coloring books. Basically, I'd probably say once a week or twice a week. It depends on what our overall, product flow is or production process is for that specific month, what we decide beforehand. And for all our team leader ones who are on now, that's what we're going to be doing tomorrow to determine exactly what you're going to be getting for the rest of the month on February, which is going to be simple and straightforward to do. So pretty much that basically can give you a real standard idea of how to create the crossword puzzle. So Suzette, are there any other tips that you can give me in terms of the cover design, like in terms of typography and in terms of colors? Any other tips that you'd be able to offer members who are online now?
For crossword puzzles, I always say go for those fonts that are heavy. They have a heavy feel, like Impact, or you can use Helvetica Condensed Bold or Myriad Pro Condensed Bold. These are heavy. They have a heavy type feel to it because this is more of an academic kind of, it's more dealing with people who, dealing with intellect. So that's the type of font I tend to to put for puzzle books, and it works well, and it's always shown with all the crossword puzzle books that are out there.
Excellent, 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 excellent,
Colin,
excellent.
I hope you.
Ah, what's that, Suzette?
No, I was just hoping that I answered the question.
Oh, you made perfect sense. That is brilliant. So yeah, that is absolutely awesome. So once basically we have now those three different options that we're going to be able to choose from. So again, when we meet tomorrow as team leader ones, what's basically going to happen is that you're going to then be able to decide in which direction you're going to go. So you can choose and say, okay, well, look, let's start off. We've got 50 casual crossword puzzles, and we can start off by choosing those. So Suzette, don't go away. I'm going to ask you to kind of mute yourself. I'm going to grab the screen, and I'm going to start looking on a couple of things that that we need to be aware of in terms of these types of books that we're creating. So let me go ahead and grab the screen. And Suzette, by the way, for your very first live webinar, you did very, very well. And so there was no reason for you to be nervous. You did very, very well. You did very, very well. And if anyone can just basically say, if rate Suzette out of 1 out of 10, or out of 10, and tell me exactly, how you think she did. Let us know if she did really, really well. So the excellent 9.5, Casey. 100%, 10. Awesome, Elizabeth is saying. Great. Absolutely. So there you go, Suzette. There was nothing to be, you didn't have to be nervous. You did extremely, extremely well. Extremely, extremely well. Okay. So I'm going to grab the screen. Excellent, excellent, excellent. Okay. Awesome. Yeah, all right. I think so too. I think so too. It's amazing, so it is. Okay. So, all right. So basically, guys, what we want to do on is kind of, take a quick look on one of the reasons why we're looking on getting a lot of the information that we have placed in this particular manner. One of the most critical things that I need all our team leader ones and team leader twos to fully comprehend is that speed of implementation, is critical. Because at any point in time, you can be asked to create 2 coloring books in a day. You can be asked to create 2 crossword puzzle books in a day. And basically, those 2 things will, basically, if you're really, really, if you're really, really, really skilled at it, like Suzette is, you can do this in probably an hour and a half to 2 hours maximum before you have a cover and an entire crossword puzzle book ready to be published. In a maximum of 2 hours, you can have a coloring book created and ready to be published, right? But what we want to do is that we want to give everyone enough time in an 8-hour day to say, okay, well, let's go ahead and do 2 for the day, because it gives you enough time so you're not trying to rush to get that off. You can take your time, make sure that you're doing it correctly. The less mistakes that we have, the better off we're going to be. But what you're doing here is that you're getting into a realm that almost 90% of self-publishers will never ever get into because of just the inability for them to kind of conceptualize that they could ever be doing this. And again, when we talk about speed of implementation, if you're able to get those coloring books put together very, very quickly, you can be doing 60 plus coloring books for the day. Now, one of the key things here, again, and just for everyone to kind of understand, we did reach out to SEMrush. We're looking to hear back from them definitely before the weekend is out, because they contacted me and said, hey, listen, we're very interested in giving everyone a deal for SEMrush. The more people who are using it, the better off they are. They might chop the price down to about $29.99 per month. I explained to them that, look, it might not be a case where we might be using it. Anybody might be using it on a regular basis. So you might end up using it for the month of, January, February, and March, but then you want to take a break and, go back to, let's say, December. That's the next time you're going to use it. We wanted to make sure that the option was available for you to return at that point in time, still at that $30 or 50% off discount. So that's one of the things that we are again pushing for. So you should be able to access SEMrush. So typically what I would want to do is that I would go to SEMrush here, and we're going to provide you with a couple of these things. So I'm going to look for coloring books. So I'm going to look for coloring books here, and I'm just going to search the US to kind of see what kind of numbers that we're looking on and the different terms. So here are some of the different terms here. So you've got coloring book pages, coloring books, color book, coloring books for adults, anatomy, the color purple book, which is clearly not something, online coloring book, adult coloring books, and you can see a full report of some stuff like that. And here are the related keywords reports. You can actually find things that have to do with coloring books here. So you can see this here, coloring sheets, kids coloring pages. Now, you can name your book coloring pages for adults, coloring pages for boys, right? Kids coloring pages, right? So what we want to basically do is that we know that we're going to give you a list of these to start with. So here's the critical thing. Use the keyword term just as if you were creating anything that you were doing before. The keyword term leads it, right? The keyword term is what is leading that, because you don't want to be using something that people are not searching for, right? You want to have kids coloring pages. You want to have kids coloring books, right? So we've got a Valentine's coloring book here, heart cutouts. This might possibly be something that, let's see if we have a look inside for this. Here we've got the I love you, to love, and it allows the person to actually do cutouts. So you can have this where the person is literally cutting something out. But do you see exactly how easy this is, right? Are you seeing how easy this is? This is exactly what this is. We might have thought in the past, they're not even putting anything on the page. There's no dictation on the page or anything like that, right? And this is very, very timely. January 21st, 2014, right? And this is 46,000 in books. Not bad at all, in my opinion, right? And as you can see, this came out, today's the 29th, and it came out 8 days ago, and it's already doing pretty well, right? So you put stuff like that and you put in kids coloring books, you can look and you can find options to get this. So you've got color by number. This is Dover coloring books here. Let's see how this book is doing. 236,000, not so wonderful, but in my opinion, and it looks very, very simple. Let's see what's inside this particular book here. There you go. That's all it is. Okay, so they've got some dictation here too, right? Color the pictures like this. You can do that as well. So they number what colors you want to go ahead and put in here. And this is something that I think that we would be able to do as well. I'm almost positive if we were going to add something to it, but it's not what we do, and it's not typically necessary to be done either, right? a child basically has, you know, the freedom of being able to color. In this instance, one of the things that I know a lot of people have not looked on is this here. And I want to make sure I open this up so everyone can actually see it. So are you guys seeing what I'm seeing here? So 2-pack assorted color by numbers coloring books, right? And we have different things here which are actual color by numbers stuff, which is makes it what is typically known as, let me go ahead and make sure I minimize that. Well, the image is extremely big, but what we're basically looking on here is that you're able to marry or use your coloring book as a product support book for other things that are in that particular niche, right? That is one of the things that you can also look on as well. So remember that the overarching strategy of product support niches is an overarching strategy. And you'll find it at the beginning of Speedy Publishing where we talk about that, because literally if there's any correlation to anything where you have any type of publication, there is a way that you can use that, right? And typically I'm sure if I was to look for anything that said trademark, I'm sure something that says color by numbers cannot be trademarked. There is no doubt in my mind that that can't be the case. So I'm going to hit the back button here, right? So if we look for just coloring books period on Amazon, and I'm going to start doing something just to make sure everyone understands that this is not, we don't live by Amazon, and we certainly will not die because of Amazon. You have a lot of coloring books. We've got dinosaurs, pinwheel, wild animals. Let's see what, and these are the same Dover Nature guys. 13,000 in books, so we know that wild animals coloring books are pretty good. Here, this looks really nice. So they've put in a little bit of information here, but they've got wild animals, and this looks cool. But the point is that we could do a lot simpler stuff. That's the reality of it. We could do wild animals looking in our Speedy 123RF, and we could find those wild animals, right? So it just depends. So if we were to go to, let's say, wild animals, and I think Suzette, based on what Suzette taught us tonight, is that we'll be looking for illustrations, and we would click on search, right? And so we're looking for any one of those, and we've got a lot of wild animals here. But let's say wild animals coloring. Maybe I can put that link in there. Maybe we can see that. So hey, listen. So we've got, I think this is is this an emu? That kiwi, or I think it's a kiwi. And we've got an alligator or a crocodile. I think that's a crocodile. The teeth are protruding. And then you have that little bear, or it might be a koala. And then you have the fish, and then you have another grizzly bear that looks like a hedgehog. Then you've got a fox. Then you've got an elephant. You've got a turtle, a gorilla. This is a giraffe, and that's probably a parrot or of some kind, not a macaw typically. And then here's a wildebeest, and that's a cheetah. That's an emu. We've got another crocodile. Here's a hippopotamus. Here's a monkey. But we're really looking for mainly collections, really. So here's Bambi, I think, a squirrel, a snake. All of this would clearly get us to the point where we would be able to split this up. And we would be able to come up with 50 images quite easily. And that's no joke. So I think we've got 3 here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 7. We've got another set here which look like 5, that's 12. So we've got another 12 here, and here's 4, that's 16. And we can keep on going down the line here, and we can really search. I have no idea what this animal is, but we can really search. Here's another one here where we have a cobra snake. We've got the scorpion. And all of these things, well, I don't know about the octopus, but all of these things here, we could quickly and easily put together, you know, a coloring book in the space of a few minutes, right? And that is, here's a rhinoceros or rhinoceros. I'm not sure. I think that's a gecko, and that's a flamingo. And we've got that as well. And as Suzette mentioned before, when we click on the link, we can find other related images as well. So similar stock photos. Here we go. So similar stock photos. There you go. And you can scroll down. A kangaroo. There's a nice one. And I think I have no idea what type of lizard this is. But it looks like a dinosaur though. I don't think there are lizards like this still alive. But this is this might be, I have no what kind of bird this is. Well, I know a kangaroo and another crocodile. They do actually seemingly love crocodiles. And then we've got this kind of animal here. So the key thing here is that we're able to put together a wild animals coloring book too. Not very difficult. And as you can see, their images are really like this, really solid illustrations. So if we wanted to use something like this that we could find, we could actually use this. And as you can see here, pretty much, we could actually fade out everything at the top and just put something here at the top, Wild Animals Coloring Book, John Green. That's it. That's the extent of the particular book. And that's the way how it would work. So, okay, so we're looking on that. So we know that we can definitely find simple ways to get our information in and to be able to create a coloring book. And the more that we put out, it's the better off we are, because at the end of the day, we're going to go into more advanced stuff, such as translating your existing coloring books. Of course, we won't be able to translate your crossword puzzles because those actually start in English. So that's pretty much what you're looking on from a crossword puzzle perspective. But if you think about everything that you're doing and that you're learning today will ensure that you're going to be able to create something that's going to sell a lot better than before, because you're going to have a much better cover image. You're going to be able to have a much better design at the end of the day, and you're going to be able to create something that you never ever envisioned creating on your own very, very quickly without using this particular type of training and this particular process, because it's the speed of implementation. You can't take 5 days to create a coloring book. You can't take 3 days to create a coloring book. If it takes that long, then it's not going to be cost effective, because then you could be creating 6 different reprints or 7 different reprints and then look on the return or the potential return you could be getting from that. So it boils down again to the ability for you to be able to work through your budget and your anticipated return over a period of time. And that's one of the key things that we want to remember, just from a Team Leader 1 standpoint. So for all our Team Leader 2s, don't get intimidated. The video and the replay will, of course, have less of me, but it will focus in on exactly what you need to do in terms of creating these particular types of books. And you're going to be able to, of course, right now, the minute this webinar is over, go ahead and log into your Creative Cloud. Sorry, so I'm going to go to my Creative Cloud here. Let's say creativeadobe.com. And one of the things that I've realized is that Adobe has this little image here where you want to make sure that you don't enable the ad blocker, because I've got ad blocker, and ad blocker is not cool. So it always does that. So when you're doing something, it will block it. Once you're ready, you're going to look for, you have access to all of these. So you want to log in and you want to go to your download center. When you head to your download center, as I said before, you can download any one of these softwares. And speak to your Team Leader 1 about it before you do that. But all of these, and I mean every single one of these, work extremely, extremely well, right? So we're going to be looking for Illustrator, which is here, and you're going to hit the download button, and then it's going to take you to the Adobe Creative Cloud Illustrator, and then all you're going to do is hit on the download button here. And I'm not sure what this is. And it's going to tell me to update, and I'm going to click on Update Now. And then it's doing the installation. I shouldn't have done this, should I? Okay. I'm going to say no. Okay. Right. Thank God. So, okay. So I'm going to have to be logged in as an administrator, which I'm going to have to do that when I'm actually downloading the software. But you're going to have Adobe Illustrator. You want to make sure that you have Adobe Illustrator. If you've got any kind of ad block Block Plus or anything like that, it will throw off Adobe, right? So we kind of went through with Adobe today on a lot of the issues that people might be experiencing, what needs to be done, what we need to look on beforehand just to make sure that no one has an issue. But you download Illustrator and then you're going to be able to move through the process very, very simple in terms of creating. Now choosing your keyword terms, we're going to give you a couple of keyword terms to start off with, as we did with the previous book and your reprints. And I've been seeing a lot of the reprints coming in. That's well done. We need to get those in as quickly as possible so we can make sure that they are A-OK. Everyone might want to kind of start doing over their covers or practicing on how to do their covers, specifically using that fade technique, because for your coloring books, we're going to ask you to do something that includes the fade technique. And so falling into next week, we're going to say you're going to have to use one of those techniques. So either you're going to use the bar or the color bar along with your image to make your cover a little bit more attractive, or you're going to use the fade. And those are the two things that I would typically say that everyone should use, but it's up to the team leader one to determine if they say don't use the fade, only use the color bar, or only use the fade and never use the color bar. So that would be basically up to that team leader one at that time in terms of, you know, thinking about a mix or a healthy mix. As we go on further, all our mastermind meetings we'll still have our mastermind meetings going forward until everyone is seasoned and a team leader one, a team leader two is ready to begin the hiring process. So we're not going into any other mastermind program until we know that the team leader twos are ready to begin the hiring process and they are virtually versed in making sure that 1 month worth of work can be listed out and it can be delivered without any glitches. And that's the main thing and the main reason here. Okay, so we can look on stuff like this, coloring kids, coloring books, free coloring images. These are the things here. We know that there is a lot of demand for stuff like this, right? And as I said to you before, we don't live and die by Amazon. So we want to look on coloring books here. And as you can see what people are actually searching for. Coloring books for adults, coloring books for grown-ups, coloring books for children, coloring book for kids, coloring book about Lent, it's almost Easter, draw, doodling, and coloring books for girls, right? Very nice thing here about that Nook app. We're going to talk about Nook apps sometime in February because we're working with Barnes & Noble to see what they're doing with their Nook. We didn't think about going too heavily into it because it might be on its way out. But in terms of, you know, what Amazon has in terms of coloring books, you can see there's a very big difference in terms of the size that Barnes & Noble has in terms of what they have. And of course, a lot of them are only here. You can whittle it down in terms of if you want to get only books. So there are a couple of ways that you can skim it down here. So we can go ahead and look on books only. So we've cut down a lot. So here you've got all of these here. So we've got 1 to 30. You've got anatomy, coloring books, gorgeous glowing animals. Here is that wild animals coloring book coming up again, right? Here we've got snowflake stained coloring books, frogs, butterflies. This doesn't look too bad. And it seems that these guys over at Dover are quite popular in terms of coloring books. John Green again. Horse anatomy, very interesting. Sharks coloring book, yeah. Mythical creatures, little birds, all of these here. All these here. Do you realize that it seems that these guys, John Green and Alberta Hutchinson, they literally are dominating the entire landscape. Pirates Ahoy, yeah. And these are coming from all the way in 2006. Well, now they have another thing to contend with, because in this instance, we're going to be able to run amok, or we're going to be able to run against these guys in terms of what they're doing. And this is not the only place that they are available. I am sure which is what is going to help you at the end of the day. So if I was to go and look for Pirates Ahoy, we can see Amazon, AbeBooks. It's even on Pinterest. We've got Alibris, Book Depository, Chapters, Powell's, Alibaba as a distribution platform, Bookish.com, Barnes & Noble again, Waterstones, AbeBooks, PriceCheck, Play.com. And these are the places that we're pushing our content to through iPage. So it's very, very important that you understand that Ingram is really the source. So let's look if these guys are on it. So let's see here. Excellent, there you go. And you can see that their US suggested retail price is $1.50, which is absolutely crazy. I have no idea why they do that, which is probably why you have only 10 on hand, which means that there really is nothing on hand. So that's pretty much. But I'll look for coloring books, and there you can get another idea. You've got 1, 2, 3 coloring books, other stuff, 1990s coloring book. I just saw based on a search. So let's go coloring. You've got Bible story coloring books. If you can probably find stuff like that, that might definitely be popular. And Books A Million, we know, is one of those places. And let's take a look on a couple of the prices. And here you go. Suggested retail price, $12.24, right? And once we're putting this together, once you get a look inside, it's mainly going to be black and white. So it's not really full color, right? So when it's an ABC black and white, and you can basically tell if this is working out based on this particular section here in terms of the number of people. Okay, so guys, I wanted to get started. Don't edit out all of your instructions. This has been great. Okay, guys, no problem about. Okay, so we want to jump into questions very quickly because we've been on for too long, really. Okay, well, let me jump into the questions that anybody might have. Lewis is asking, did you say that we need a minimum of 32? Did you say that? Yes, we do. We do need a minimum of 32 pages in order for your book to be published. But remember that there is front matter that you can also add. There's also the option that you can add things on the back of your book, right? So here's what I encourage everyone to do, and we plan to talk about this tomorrow. You've got to take ownership of your own templates. Now, we give you the basic template. The basic template you can just probably switch out and put in your information, right? But one of the key things that you want to remember is that you should be able to add your own look and feel at the end of the day, right? So you can talk to your team leader too, or you can take it upon yourself to say, let me go ahead and tweak a couple of my own templates. So you're provided with about 6 or 7 templates that are all going to be coloring books. You're going to be given 6 or 7 templates that are all going to be crossword puzzles. You're going to be given 6 or 7 templates that are all for print books, and I think about 2 or 3 templates that are all for ebooks. Now, the cool thing is Cedric, if Cedric is actually online, Cedric worked out a really great deal with a company known as Juto, and I wanted to demonstrate that. And if Cedric is here, send Cedric a drink. I'm telling you, because this is going to save us a lot of time. Juto basically works wonders, and here's one of the great things that we're going to do. So I tested this literally with a friend of mine who wanted a book that was on 6 days to Great Sex. And that friend of mine might possibly know if he's actually online right now. But the key thing here is, and I had to test this, right? And I just threw in a cover. So this is Amy's cover, a really great cover for Doggypedia, because I just wanted to make sure that this really worked when Lillian told me, hell, yes, it does work. So you have the option here of going into a book section here, and I'm going to be doing some training on this particular software. But for the time period now, let's stick with our EPUB Maker. But you go into the section here that says book, and you go into project properties, right? And I just populated some stuff here. And you go into configurations, and then you scroll down, And this works with every single one of our templates. And you go here. This allows you to choose whether you want an EPUB 2 or an EPUB 3, right? This is basically what it is. And when we sent this to an EPUB 3, and I said to Lillian, I said, make sure you validate it on CoreSource, make sure that you validate it on validator.idpf, and make sure you validate it within the system, because the system itself here actually does the EPUB check. So I can compile the EPUB, it compiles it, and then I can say, give me a check, and it's going to run the check. And you can see here, if you can actually see my screen, it's showing here EPUB check version 3.0 validating against EPUB version 3.0, no errors or warnings detected, finished EPUB checking, right? So by Friday, this software is going to be available at a 30% discount, and the actual price of it is $39. So it's going to be $29 for all of us, which is, I think, is absolutely awesome. Because if you see that there are people who are out there right now on Fiverr who are actually selling this service and they're doing it, you know, EPUB 3 or EPUB 2, you can do whatever you want to do, even as a method of, you know, bringing in some revenue. And if you chose to do that, you can do that too. Not giving anyone any ideas, I'm just saying that there are many, many options to choose from when you're using the particular software. And that's very, very important to do, right? But of course, Fiverr is completely saturated now. You have to literally climb over thousands of people to get that done. But the key thing here is that we are now able to produce EPUB 3s without having to go to an outsourcer. And this was brilliant. And thanks a lot to Cedric, who is a masterminder right now, and of course a speedy publisher. So again, team means together everyone achieves more, and that's a prime example of what this is all about. So we are good to go, and we're off to a flying start in terms of creating our enhanced EPUBs using a standalone software. And it takes 5 minutes to use the same template that we utilize. You upload it and you put it inside the software, and boom, it's created. Simple, straightforward, and to the point. Okay, so let's jump on any other questions that anyone has. I want to go through those questions quickly before people start falling asleep. Okay. What size are those images? What images are exactly, what are we talking about, Lewis? Okay, Val says, these Dover stained coloring glass. Okay, let me get to what Val has asked for. Val asked, those Dover stained glass coloring books are printed on semi-transparent paper with a black background. When colored, the image looks like a stained glass window. When placed in a window with a little piece of Scotch tape, used a lot as a whoa. Okay, well, I didn't know that, but that sounds great. That sounds great. I'm not sure how we would actually, you know, how we would actually go ahead and do that. I have no idea. We would probably have to try and figure that one out. Yes, Lois, we do need a minimum of 32 pages, as we had mentioned before. You can do 33. I mean, if you want to do 33. But the whole point is, don't just do CreateSpace only, because CreateSpace will tell you 24. But don't do CreateSpace only, in my opinion. You've got to get it everywhere. That's just the whole premise. I'll give you an example. Or foreign language diaries and planners don't sell as well on Amazon. They sell extremely well on other platforms, but they don't sell that well on Amazon. That's just the case in point. That's how it works. On you know, that's typically how it is. So yes, that always use 32 as a minimum, but 24 is a minimum for CreateSpace, 32 is a minimum. I use 50 just as a base. Just as a base. And there are other little tricks that we can talk about that Suzette can elaborate on. We'll probably look on that sometime in February, because in February we're looking on really major enhancements or other enhanced things that we can do. We're taking it kind of slow here for this month, particularly, again, speed of implementation, so that we can bulk up our catalog size. Okay, so Tina is asking if we can get the PowerPoint, Suzette. Sure, Suzette, would you be able to change that gray into the gray text into black, and then, of course, save that PowerPoint possibly as a PDF file, and then just go ahead and get that ready for me so we can post the replay tonight. Lewis is saying, I was just wondering what Suzette used as template sizes on AI and then send it over to Word. Pretty much what she did was that she utilized 7.5 by 10, and then she kind of squeezed it in. Now, what Suzette, because I was worried when I initially saw this months ago, and I said, what if we are cutting it too close? And Suzette kind of assured me, she said, Colin, when you input the image into Microsoft Word, it's going to shrink it downwards. A bad thing is that when you have a JPEG file and you're trying to enlarge it, it's better to shrink it downwards than to enlarge it. And so when she did it in that size and we ingested it, we had no issues or no problems to begin with, which was absolutely great for us on that front. So that worked pretty well for us. Okay, Lewis, definitely. Suzette is asking me, Sandra's asking, do you have the unedited version of last night's webinar with your comments, Colin? The replay is almost half as long than the actual webinar. Yes, it is. I want all your comments. Okay, yes, we do actually. I wanted to cut out the last part that had to do with the enhanced books, pretty much until we were able to test the Juto, which works brilliantly now. So the approach of having to use that will change. So what I'll do is I'll switch out the videos tonight. That will be for the entire 2.5+ hours with the comments at the end, Sandra, and I'll make sure I go ahead and get that when I'm putting up the replay up tonight. So awesome. So, okay, guys, put in those questions. I mean, we've got 1 minute officially left. We've got 1 minute officially. And I remember specifically someone asking, so let me get this out here. We planned to use our mastermind, can you bleed an image on Word? Actually, I've never tried that. So what Lewis is asking is if we can bleed an image on Word. I would probably not try to do that. I wouldn't try to do that, Lewis. What you want to do is remember that you want to make sure that it is as less complex as possible. If anyone has any direct questions, I'm going to ask you to go ahead and email Suzette at speedypublishing.com. Right? So any queries that you might have, just go ahead and email Suzette at speedypublishing.com, and Suzette will jump on those queries for you as best she can. The key thing here is that it's for Lewis, it's really to keep it simple so that Team Leader 2s can basically quickly go over and get it done. Because remember that at some point in time, if your Team Leader 2 hires someone, wherever they find that person, they might say this person is going to be dedicated to creating coloring books all day, every day, and twice on Sunday, right? That's basically what the person would be required to do if that person is creating coloring books. Speed of implementation is very important. That means in 7 days you can create 14 books. If you translate those 14 books, that's 8 different books, though you have 4 different titles really, but it's 4 different titles translated in different languages, right? Which is Spanish, French, and German. So you're talking about those 4 books. So you've got, English, Spanish, German, and French, right, that are coming across for that. So it's quite a bit of that, as you said. I agree. I was just It was just that you very simple sample. There's an image that seemed to bleed off the page, but I couldn't actually tell was actually read. Okay, so Lewis is still, we're going on the image. Keep it simple, Lewis. I'm serious. The easier it is for you to understand, is the easier it is for all of our team leaders to understand. No bleed anything. Take that image and pop it in. Get your book created. Look on that Valentine book. If we look on that Valentine book, this just came out a couple of days ago. We're still 14 days away from Valentine's. If we wanted to, on February 1, we could say, you know what? I want 4 Valentine's coloring books created. No. Right? No. And get them out. No. And you'll have them created 2 per day, Monday, Tuesday. And you can have them live on Wednesday, all 4. Right? And you can start competing with this guy on those coloring books. So it's, again, speed of implementation and your ability to jump at it and to get that sorted and get that correct. And that's just one of the things that you're looking on immediately. And maybe we can find stuff like that. I'm sure people would be looking for that right now. So we can look for Valentine coloring, possibly. Let's see. And we're getting all images. And we want to look on illustrations, as Suzette had said. So here we go. So we've got a couple of cupids, a heart, a devil, a caveman, a pig. Who is this guy? Romantic frog, or singing frog, I suppose. Kittens. We've got Cupid again. I have no idea who this dog is. The frog prince or princess. There's a lipstick. I have no idea who that cow is on a Valentine's Day. We've got 2 people hugging together. A pie. Is that an exploding pie? Okay. So right. So the key here is, guys, and I'm missing some, I'm sure. But the key here is that there's so many options to choose from, right? Cold heart. That looks pretty decent. Yeah. So you've got so many options to choose from that you can quickly get something out. Here's something that's vector-wise in terms of a collection. Here we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 images that we can grab with a vector, right? And we can possibly find other stuff, which, as Suzette taught us, are related images. Here you go. And each of them have like 5 or 6. This is awesome cool. We could create a Valentine's coloring book like no. Very nice. And this is one of the tricks that you guys will learn eventually, to be able to give an option where you can show the image colored and you can show the image not colored, right? So it kind of tells the person, gives the person the idea. One problem with that, the cost of the book. And that's one of the things that I run from, because the cost of the book is going to be full color, so then, or premium color or standard color. The problem with that is that it's going to actually be more expensive than an ordinary coloring book. That's a problem for us, which I do not like typically. Keep your costs down. That's one of the key things. So yeah, so here's a lot of Valentine guys. Very, very nice. And this is evergreen because, I mean, it's year over year. You could definitely find 50 images easily right now with this. There's no doubt in my mind. Definitely there are 50 images spread across this. There are at least 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There's a lot here. 8, 9, and 10. Yeah, there are definitely 50 images just spread across Igor Zakowski. This is him here. And I can look in his portfolio for illustrations only. Let's see what we have here, and I can look for coloring. Let's see what he has. Yeah, and he does a lot of stuff like that, right? So, and we've got 29 pages of him. There's Santa. There's a coconut. Looks like a Jamaican coconut too. Here's a panda. Right, so again, we don't really like the ones that are single. clearly because the cost. Always want to find at least 4 that are in here. Here we've got 4, so this could probably be a farm animals coloring book. You know, fat cat. This is doting sheep. I don't know. So yeah, so there are many options. Always try to find the ones that are collections. At least 4, I would probably say. Here's an insect coloring book. There you go. I'm not sure if a slug is actually an insect though. That might be incorrect. So let's go ahead. Here we go. We can go through a lot of them here. Easter. Easter. Here's another one. Easter. Timing. Timing is really important. Easter bunny. Here's one with a couple of Easter bunnies here. Excellent. Okay, so pretty much, guys, that really and truly kind of dumbs it down. And at the end of the day, I mean, it's literally, as Suzette said, you know, put it really well. It's really a no-brainer. Okay, here, what we're basically going to be doing, Lewis is asking if we're ever going to be discussing the pricing of the books. The reason why we're talking about pricing now, Lewis, is because if we create something that's colored, we know, or that is full color, premium color, or standard color, we will end up being in a very bad situation, because what will end up happening is that the cost of the book is going to be very high, right? Because you don't want to have, even 50 pages of a full coloring book is expensive, right? It's going to be not competitive when you see a book going for $7.99 or $8.99 or $9.99, right? You've got to consider the cost of printing that book. And it's the cost of printing that book that is really going to be the killer, right? So we want to make sure that we're very careful when we're going about that particular situation or scenario. So the key thing here is, what we want to do is make sure that our books are set in such a way that the interior is black and white for the most part, like a crossword puzzle, right? And more importantly, that we're going to be able to get those books at a reasonable price. The reasonable price, very important, right? So that's one of the key things that we want to work out. So pricing is what we're going to discuss tomorrow, because tomorrow in tomorrow's training, we're going to be looking on everything, your ROI, your expected projections, what it is that it means that you're going to ensure that you keep proper margins, because that's really about it, the opportunity cost. And really and truly how you're going to sit back and just work with your team leader one, and not to make it stressful. Remember, it's not an event, it's a journey. One of the things that we tend to do is that we tend to look on, okay, well, what are we going to do when the time comes? It's going to be up to January, the end of January, and I've got to get it going. Listen, there's going to be January 2015 and 2016, right? It's a journey. Set your goals and set where you want to be, and set your limits in terms of revenue. You know, connect with what you see is going on, and that's going to be you know, set up. Ah, okay. Yes, that's true. Casey, I did not, I am just realizing that's what you're saying now. Happy New Year to everyone, because tomorrow it's the start of the Chinese New Year. That I did not remember, actually. Christina, we'll discuss that in a bit. Yep. So I did not remember that. I'll be honest with you. But Casey did mention that to me. Totally slipped my mind. Okay, so everyone, definitely we're at the top of 2 hours, going on 2 hours 15 minutes, and we wanted to wrap up. We wanted to get out the email a little bit earlier than we did last night. I was really poring over Juto, trying to make sure that that worked. Good news, Tess Suchoff is coming back to me tomorrow. Promise on that. Yes, Val. So Val is asking, should we look out for holidays in the foreign markets for coloring books? Yes, and I would validate that to kind of see if those things were working out. One of the cool things about SEMrush, what I love, of course, um, if I was to look for Valentine's Day, for instance, and people are looking for Valentine's Day ideas, right? That's a good topic if you ever decide to write the book on Valentine's Day. One of the things that we can look on are things that are known as trends. Let me go ahead and put that down here. Let me click on the full report for Valentine's Day. Cool thing, Valentine's Day. Here's a trend. So we basically kind of know exactly, I think, what takes place or transpires in terms of the trend here. So we've got Valentine's Day. I'm trying to find the date when the trend in terms of the historical data. It's not based on ads history. It's going to be based on organic research, I think, not potential ad buyers. There is a section here that tells you exactly when the keyword term is hot and when it's not in terms of the time. So it tells you what's really going on with it, Valentine's Day, then Valentine's Day in terms of the trend, and you can actually see that all day long, right? But one of the key things that you want to do is look on every holiday, but validate that by looking on Amazon. So if I was to look for Valentine's Day, right? Valentine's books for children, Valentine's Day books for kids, I would definitely do something like that. So we've got a Valentine's Day book for kids. People are searching for that. It's obvious, right? So I can look for paperback. So we've got roses are pink and your feet are stink. Your feet really stink. Okay, so that's just the kids book. But you can use anything that you want to put in here and make it a coloring book. Because I would do Valentine's Day. Let's see if coloring book is actually coming up. Here we go. People are looking for Valentine's Day coloring book. People are also looking for Valentine's Day cooking books, right? So let's look for Easter. Easter, let's see, coloring books, right? So you've got Easter coloring books that are here, and that's absolutely awesome. There are only 180 of them, and they're all based on the Easter ornaments. And that's the painted glass thing that Val just mentioned. So here we've got Easter coloring activity book. And this came on in January. Let's see how this is doing. Hasn't started to sell yet. But Sierra's children's coloring book. And she's going CreateSpace, and she's doing 26 pages. There you go. Kay Denham. Let's see what this is all about. Let's see how this looks. Easter coloring book. Ha ha. There you go. Easter. There is nothing in this really. For more info, ebooks online. There you have it. And so she has this Easter egg coloring book. Let's see a big Easter adventure. This is from all the way from January 2012. And it's selling at $155,000. That's not typically bad. Or is this? Let me see if this has anything. Is this a coloring book? 64,000 in books. Let's see. Oh, and you don't have, they haven't added this. There is something that everyone wants to know. In the training tomorrow, we're going to cover what is known as the Amazon Seller Central account, where you can put in your actual look inside. If your book is, of course, going to be a book that's set up through another channel, like with Speedy Publishing. So if your book gets into Amazon through that other channel, you're going to be able to log into Amazon and, of course, add your look inside feature, because you wouldn't be able to put your look inside feature on it. So like this book here, Easter Eggs Press, Thomas and Friends, Color Plus Gatefold Sticker, this is not something that that you're going to be you're going to be able to actually have that. And sticker books seem to be quite attractive. Very interesting. Sticker books seem to be quite attractive. I'm going to definitely take a look in that. And look into that for sure. Okay, so guys, we've got to wrap up so that we can get this out. Okay, so let me grab the other questions. Yes, Val. Val says, should we look for holidays in foreign markets for coloring books? That's definitely the case. And Lewis is asking, Colin, did you say the Andromo offer was only good until the end of January? Yes, Lewis. The Andromo offer is only good until January 2099. So in other words, it's good forever, man. It's good forever. The guys over at Andromo, his name is actually, the owner of Andromo, his name is actually Colin too. So Colin is a very good name at this point. so, so yeah, it's available forever, man. And it will be available forever for Speedy Publishing members. And Lindsay over at Magster is super, super stoked at what we're doing. And as you can see, if you guys are keeping in touch with the Apptopia page, we are trying to definitely work out something that benefits everybody more than anything else. Apptopia is backed by Mark Cuban. And Lloyd, I know you definitely know who that guy is. And you know that they are pretty arrogant individuals at times. So in terms of flexibility in pricing, their attitude is pretty much, okay, well, guess what? If you're not going to buy it, someone else will. So we have to kind of have the soft approach. If they're coming in hard, we have to be soft to make sure they're landing. Yeah, yeah, yes, Lloyd, Shark Tank. Right. So we have to make sure that we have a smooth landing. So when we're trying to negotiate, if we come across hard, and we realize that they're going hard or they're saying, we give them the option to say, what can you give us? And then if they're saying, well, look, if we're selling it at that price and you won't want to do something, then we go in soft and say, we really need this. It's something that all our members really, really want. We've gotten tons and tons of emails about it. I mean, you know, just go ahead and give us a price, basically, so we can go to everyone, that everyone who is interested is willing to buy and to become a customer of yours. You know, so they go hard, we go soft, we go hard. Sometimes they go soft, which makes better sense at the time being. But they have the options right now where they do all the reskinning of your apps, just so everyone kind of knows. Apptopia is built so that you can start making money from day one. And they're pushing the template thing more than anything else. But clearly, and they still have this on if anybody has grabbed that. But the reskin package is very important. Why? Because they can do it for you starting at $400. So they do the complete retheme of all the graphics. They do the new icon screenshots. They do the graphics integrated in the code for you, and they optimize and test it for iPhone 5 earlier and iPad. And you can get that with the reskin package, right? No. Here's the key. They can actually completely retheme, highly research effective keywords in the title, updates in in-app purchases and add ID networks, and they upload it to you in the graphics store, and that's for $800, right? And so here's the key. If I was to spend $1,099, I would be able to get a complete app making money for me from day one, which I think is a solid investment. How much money I'm going to be making is another thing entirely, right? So I basically go again, if you look on my ROI, I look on, at the very least, I want to be making anywhere close to at least 20%, 20+%, basically on my overall spend month over month. So it's really and truly based on your margins, what you really want to work with. So I usually give it at least 90 days before I start seeing that money coming in. But I want to get to that point, and I need to be doing something within that particular time period to get to that point. So they have all of these themes here. What we're working on is, first, we want to make sure that we have the multi-license, which they've agreed to give us, that multi-license. Second, we want to make sure that when we acquire this, that we're not paying that $800 for the reskin. If it's 1,000 of us who are in Speedy Publishing, if all 1,000 of us bought, right, they could pay back Mark Cuban tomorrow. The reality here is that we can buy over time, right? So we don't want to be paying that much money for these particular templates here, or pre-made apps, and then they're made for reskinning, right? So we want to make sure that we have that. This could be a very interesting one, because the World Cup is upon us in a couple of days, right? So this could be a popular one here. So you can't use the word FIFA, but they will help you. And they have this launch package here for $13.50. Too high in my opinion. So we want to make sure that we get it out there and running. And they tell you how much it costs. You've got all the screenshots. Doesn't look too bad for, you know, something that you're going to play on your phone. And it can become very addictive, right? So again, I want to make it clear to everyone that it's something that we're looking on. Key thing here I've been talking to them about is not just building the App Store, but we want to talk to them about getting the Android versions as well to be able to place them on the Amazon Kindle store, and of course we'll be able to place them on Google Play. So that's one of the key things that we want to look on. So again, guys, that's super advanced stuff that we're going to go into at a later time, but I've got to wrap up. I want to make sure that I grab all the questions that were left. Excellent. Okay, everybody, so I'm going to wrap up now. We're on a 2.5 hour mark. Suzette, are you there? So, Suzette, you can unmute yourself.
Yes, I am.
Excellent, excellent, excellent.
I am.
Thought you fell asleep. Okay, okay. So okay, everyone. Awesome training. Look for the replay in a couple of hours. And Sandra, I will make sure that I upgrade the replay to be the full 2.5 hours for the previous Webby. And tomorrow is going to be even more exciting. We'll have everything, including all of the downloads for your crossword puzzles. You'll have your updated templates to be used, and you'll also have, I think, access, of course. You can go ahead and begin your coloring images. And Christina will meet in a little while so that we can discuss what we need to discuss. But from us over here at Speedy Publishing Central, it's over and out for the night. And everybody get some rest. We've got another webinar tomorrow. So everybody take care, and we will speak tomorrow at the close of the day when we're going to wrap up and get into February. And Lewis, I remember now, I had to say this. We're not running another mastermind program until probably the next 2.5 months. So our mastermind program will remain in effect during that time until, as I mentioned before, all our team leader 2s are ready to hire on more people. So we're not going anywhere fast in terms of if we're going to move away at the end of the month. So that's all it. Definitely not the case, everybody. And we're going to work to make sure that that business is carrying on. So we might end up having classes which are going to happen next week as well. But until we have something going that's solid, that we're moving forward the way we're supposed to move forward, we can't move forward. And we want to make some millionaires in our mastermind program. Okay, everybody. So I'm over and out. Suzette, you want to say anything before we go?
It was great. I hope everybody understood most of the things that I put in, and it was fun.
Awesome, awesome. Okay, everybody. Have a great night. Thanks, Lloyd. Thanks, everybody. All right, great. So take care.